is a detailed user guide provided with the tool, and I propose that you should read this before you really start using the tool, as this goes into detail on how the tool works. Okay, let's start looking at the tool. So when you download the file from the AMLAS website and unzip it, you're presented with the following files. I won't cover the installation using the setup executable here, but that should be fairly straightforward. Once you've done that, you can double click on this template file here. We recommend that you don't open this directly in Visio, or if you do open it directly in Visio, then you create another document based on the template. But if you double click this, this should open Visio and generate a new document for you. That way you're not editing the template file directly. It takes a little while to load, and when it loads, you should be presented with the overview that looks very familiar to one given in the AMLAS guide documentation. So here we are. If we just zoom in a little bit, we can see here are the corresponding stages as defined in the AMLAS guidance, and they're color-coded with the same colors. Now, this overview is really intended as a simple navigation tool. Clicking on each of these buttons will take you to that stage, that activity stage. You've got a home button and a back button that do what you would think they would do. And you also get a very simple feedback of how far you are through the process. So for each of the artifacts that are going to be instantiated, you can see here there are 5. You get a count of how many have already been instantiated. And you get also a percentage bar of how far through the safety case you are. Let's go to that first stage. So here's first activity stage with some of the artifacts. Now, although you can move some of these artifacts around, our intention is to try and lock much of the functionality of Visio down so that you can't edit these documents as you would with the normal Visio shape. And instead, double-clicking on these will bring up an edit box that allows you to enter information specific to the way we intend for these artifacts to be instantiated. So if we just do that, double-click on this. This is the edit box for this particular artifact. And the idea here is that you can either enter a file name or you can go and get the file path directly. And we have some pre-prepared example artifacts here to show you how this process would work. Let's just try and bring those up on the screen so it's a little bit more visible. So this artifact here, you can see it's got a non-editable identifier in square brackets, and it's got a template sort of boilerplate plate description given here. But if we select this, which is the system description, we click that, it automatically puts the file path in there, and we can open the file directly by clicking this button. This will use the Windows default browser mechanism. So if it's a URL or a different file, and Windows can open it, then it should open automatically. And once we're in here, we can cut and paste the parts of the document that are of interest to us. Say this for the system description, and we can replace that. If we don't do this, we just click OK, those curly braces will be automatically removed to indicate that you have instantiated the document. I'll just show you what that looks like. So once the document's been instantiated, it should have a dark green border around it to show that you've placed a file reference against that artifact. And let's quickly fill out some of these artifacts for us. So this is the description, system description. Okay. And if you want to add a little bit more information about this, just open this file. So you can also add extra information in the details box here. So if there was things we wanted to copy in here that was of interest to us, say a short summary paragraph we can put that in like this. Okay, and that should remember it. And again, it goes green. Okay, and let's do one more. Component description. On this one, I'll just click OK, and you'll see how the curly braces are removed from that description. And if you put your mouse cursor over the artifact, you can see that the tooltip shows the instantiated document. And you can also open that reference document directly from within Visio by right-clicking on the mouse and using Open File Reference there. I will do one final artifact here, which is the safety requirements allocated to the machine learning component. And we should have a safety requirements, system safety, machine learning safety requirements. That looks like it. Okay. Let's just add some details into that one as well. Let's open the file, see what it looks like. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we've got some specific safety requirements we can add. Okay. Right, let's go back to the overview page. We go back here, we can see now that 4 out of 5 of those artifacts have been instantiated, and the percentage bar has been completed a little bit. It shows you're 18% of the way through the process. So for every activity stage, there's also a corresponding argument, and each of these references will be will form some input into that argument, not necessarily on this stage. But let's have a look at that argument. By clicking the toggle button up here, you can toggle between the process and argument pages. Now here we can see these arguments, which are the contexts for the argument, where they've been instantiated with our files here. There's normally a little triangle here, which shows that the artifact needs to be instantiated. The tool has done this automatically for you, so it's removed that triangle. Again, if you put your mouse cursor over it, you'll see the reference to that file. And if you want to edit this referenced artifact and you double click on here, it'll bring you up a little box here that will say that this artifact references data from another stage, and it will take you to that stage to if you wish to edit the data. So if you click OK here, you'll automatically be brought to that page, and it'll highlight the corresponding artifact. And again, you can click on it and edit it. Okay, so go back to our stage. You can see, so those are most of the contexts, and each of those has a different tooltip according to the file reference. You can also edit the assumptions and some of the goals. Where those are editable, you can see they've got a little triangle in here. So let's try editing this one. This is an assumption. So in here, you can see that there's some boilerplate text, and you can replace this text or add something to it. If you make any changes to this, again, it will strip the curly braces to show that it's been instantiated. So here I'll keep the text, but I'll add a dummy file reference. Let's call it test doc. Okay, and click OK. Now you can see the triangle's disappeared. And if we hover over it, it should come up with the file reference there in tooltip. Okay, if you've edited an artifact and you want to undo it and go back to the original boilerplate text, you can just press undo, and that should restore it. Okay. Each of these buttons is a simple navigation, and they're on all the pages. You can also access the pages down here. So we've got stage 1, where we are, and stage 2. Or if you go back to the home page, you can access these directly like this until you reach these. So there's 6 stages in all. Okay, so this overview page, there are actually 2 home pages in the AMLAS tool documentation. There's this simplified view, which we've got in front of us here. And there's also a more detailed view called the artifact tracker, which shows you how the artifacts feed into different stages. If you look here, you can see that although we completed we instantiated the artifacts on stage 1, we've already completed one of the artifacts for stage 2. And if you look there, this is the artifact concerned. If you go to that second stage, you can see it's shaded grey to indicate that, again, that was originally edited on a previous stage. If you double click on it, it'll ask you if you want to be taken to that page to edit it. So those artifacts which are referenced are shaded grey, and it's already highlighted in green to indicate it's been instantiated. Now, because there are a lot of artifacts, there's about 30 of them, and they feed into multiple stages, it gets quite difficult to follow which artifacts have been completed. So you can see here again, some have already been completed for this final stage. So let's have a look at the artifacts tracker. By clicking on this little button at the top here, this radio button, this will either make this simplified view of the home page or the more complex artifact tracker, the home page. Now, if we zoom in here, now you can see a pictorial representation of how each of these artifacts feeds into the separate stages of the AMLAS process. Each artifact, if it's instantiated, is turned green in the same way as the artifacts. And again, if you put your mouse over them, you can see you'll get a tooltip showing you the description of that artifact. And if you double click any of these, let's just do that, it will take you to that stage. So in this, we can now see why some of the activities have already had some of the artifacts completed. So you can see the arrows indicate that these particular artifacts also act as inputs into this stage here, which means this stage is already about a third of the way complete. And again, you get some idea of how much work remains to do on the other stages.
Okay, so on the right-hand side here, we've got, I'll just zoom out. We've got a sort of overview of the safety case. We've got all the different parts showing. This is a static image here. So if I go to this page here, this is actually a dynamic overview. So this reflects the safety case. As we gradually update the safety case, this updates and reflects what's going on. Ones need making bigger, but anyway. Okay, so when you're doing these safety cases, it's likely that you're going to have multiple safety requirements. So we've added some functionality to allow you to input those. So we've got two filled circles here. They allow you to input performance safety requirements and robustness safety requirements. I will just show. So it asks you how many, in this case, how many performance safety requirements you want to add. I'll say we want to add 3. So we've added 3 performance safety requirements there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've now got 3 in the box there. So if we go now to stage 5, in this box here, we can add references to safety requirement files. So if I double click that, we've now got 1P, 2P, 3P. That's because we added 3 performance safety requirements. So those refer to those. If I'd added robustness ones, there'd be tabs saying 1R, 2R, 3R, etc. So I can now add a reference to a file with the performance safety requirements in it. That is one. And if I open the file as previously, so I'll just add that in there and save it. And now if I jump to the argument pattern, we've now got 3 argument patterns representing the 3 performance safety requirements that we added. If I zoom in on this here, we've got the solution, and it's now got the ML SR1 reference that I put in. And if I right click on that and open the file reference, it takes me to that file. So if we now go to the overview, we've now got 3 performance safety requirements at the bottom, which reflects the 3 that we added. Obviously, if I'd added robustness, there'd be extra grey sections in there. And this is effectively your sort of constantly updating view of the safety case.